how do you convince an entire nation to march to war against an enemy that doesn't actually exist? To answer that, we have to look at Edward Bernays. In the 1950s, the United Fruit Company paid Bernays $500,000, about $5 million in today's currency, to design a specific psychological operation. His task was to trick the American public into believing a Russian invasion of Guatemala was imminent. The entire nation bought the fabrication, resulting in troops being deployed for a non-existent threat. Beneath the panic, the campaign provided cover for a CIA-backed intervention designed to protect the corporate profits of the United Fruit Company, an organization with direct ties to leadership in the U.S. State Department. The deception destroyed Guatemala's economic conditions for 70 years. It fueled a series of civil wars that left over 200,000 native Mayans dead. This wasn't an isolated failure of intelligence. It was a successful beta test for a replicable system of mass manipulation. Analysts now warn that this same Bernaysian blueprint is being deployed today to manufacture a new geopolitical crisis regarding China. Step 1 of the blueprint requires the alignment of interests. This is a shadow merger between private wealth and state power. In the 50s, this was visible in the Dulles brothers. One ran the CIA, the other ran the State Department, and both were linked to the United Fruit Company through stock holdings held by associates. Modern alignments operate with the same goal, using state resources to protect a specific hegemonic status and global economic dominance. Step 2 is planting the experts. A narrative is legitimized by funding specific, seemingly independent voices to repeat it until it becomes public fact. Today, this strategy is visible in the coordinated effort to demonize China through narratives regarding the Uyghurs in Xinjiang. Figures like Rebia Kadir are elevated as the face of these movements, providing a personal, emotional anchor for the broader geopolitical narrative. At the same time, researchers like Adrian Zenz are promoted as academic authorities, providing the raw data that media outlets then use to justify hostile policies. When you look at the US-based funding behind these organizations, the independence of these experts disappears. Instead, they operate as functional cogs in a coordinated apparatus designed to manufacture national consent for regime change. Step 3 is leveraging the lingua franca. Control of the English language gives these narratives an immediate global reach that localized counter-evidence cannot match. Because English is the global language of business and media, state-backed information distortion can overwhelm the truth on a global scale. This leads to step 4, the escalation to action. The rhetoric transitions from media reports into physical policy changes and military movement. Fabricated narratives justified the 1953 coup in Iran, showing how quickly propaganda can be weaponized to trigger a regime change. This same blueprint fueled the entry into Vietnam and the subsequent decades of conflict in Afghanistan. It sustained the justification for the invasion of Iraq, proving that the system can be used repeatedly to launch wars based on falsified rhetoric. This psychological framing acts as the necessary preamble to destructive physical warfare. Historically, the U.S. ran this blueprint against smaller, developing nations that lack the resources to effectively push back. Attempting this against China is a different calculation. Their massive war industries and rising economic status mean that a manufactured conflict would have catastrophic consequences that the U.S. cannot simply outspend. The economic surpluses of the petrodollar era are disappearing, making the cost of funding these bogus wars higher than ever before. Continuing this cycle of manipulation is no longer just harmful to the nations being targeted, it is actively damaging the collective good of the American public. The only defense against this system is conscientiological awareness, a commitment to being a responsible, media-literate citizen who questions the origin of the narratives they consume. Recognizing the blueprint is the only way to stop sleepwalking into the next global conflict.